Welcome to another episode of Truth from the Trail. I'm here in beautiful Northern Virginia, on my way on the Appalachian Trail toward Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, and then beyond, just to see how far I can go. You know, I've been backpacking for a long time. I'm not good at it, but I'm comfortable with it. I've been doing YouTube for, 2 weeks, and not that comfortable with it, as you can probably tell. Hopefully that'll get better. But when you do something that you're not comfortable with, something you've never done before, it's kind of scary, isn't it? Our story today is about a man who is taking on something he's never done before. And he does pretty well because he ends up writing one of the books of the Bible. Our story begins with Jesus assembling his dream team, these 12 guys who were his disciples. One of them didn't turn out so hot, but the other 11 did. And the story says that he was going through a certain town and came upon a tax collector's booth. The tax collector was a guy named Levi. He's also known as Matthew. Jesus stopped at the tax collector's booth and he simply said, "Levi, follow me." And Levi dropped everything he was doing, stopped what he was doing, left his tax collector's booth, and followed Jesus. Sometime later, Matthew held a party, a dinner party at his home where he was the host, and the guests were Jesus, his disciples, and some of Matthew's friends. Now, outside the courtyard, watching all of this, were Pharisees. They didn't like it a bit, and they asked some of Jesus's brand new disciples, "Why does your master associate with these sinners and publicans?" And Jesus knew what was going on, and he understood the conversation, and so he intervened. And he said, "Look, the well don't need a physician. Physicians come for sick people. I came for sinners, not for the righteous." Now, our story ends there. It's a very short story, but it is packed with what I like to call life lessons. So let's unpack a couple of them and see if there's anything we can apply to our lives. I like to apply them to mine, and maybe you'll pick up something in here that you can apply to yours. The first thing I see is Jesus asking Matthew to be one of his disciples. You got to understand, in those days, a tax collector was a Jew who had turned on his own people. The Romans would hire a Jew who could handle the books and collect the taxes. And so the Jews hated tax collectors because they were traitors. On top of that, as long as the Romans got what they wanted, they didn't care how much extra the tax collector took. So not only were they traitors, they were thieves. To me, that's life lesson number one, that Jesus invites unlikely people. No one can ever say, "Well, I'm too bad, I've been too many places, I've done too much." You're not as bad as Matthew was to his people. So Jesus invites unlikely people. The second thing I see in here is the way that Matthew obeyed Jesus. The best obedience is immediate obedience. The story doesn't tell us that Matthew said, "Thank you for that invitation. That's really kind of you, but as you can see, I'm kind of tied up right now, and I'm pretty busy doing some important stuff. I tell you what, I'll get back with you about that, and we'll see what happens." Wouldn't that have been typical? That's the kind of answers we would give. But it didn't say that. It says that Matthew immediately closed up shop and followed Jesus. The best obedience is immediate obedience. That's the kind of obedience that Jesus wants out of us. Parents, that's a good obedience to teach your children, since parents are supposed to be God models to their children. Teach them immediate obedience. Can you hear Jesus saying, "Okay, Matthew, I need an answer. 1, 2. No, it was immediate. Another thing I get out of this story is that Matthew held this party, a dinner party. Who was there? Who was the invitation list? Let's see, Jesus, disciples, and Matthew's friends. Who were Matthew's friends? Well, it doesn't tell us, but common sense says they were other tax collectors, maybe even Romans. Heaven forbid. These weren't good. It wasn't an upper crust invitation list. The life lesson I get out of that is when I experience the love of God in my life, I'm free to invite other people to meet Jesus the way I did. Jesus is open to that. And then maybe the last life lesson I get out of this story is this bickering and confrontation with the Pharisees, which goes on as long as we're doing stories in the New Testament. That's kind of what we're going to get most of the time. These Pharisees were outside the courtyard. It would have been an outside type dinner party, and they would have been outside watching this. And they were trying to confront these brand new disciples who didn't know what to say. And why would Jesus associate with sinners and publicans? And Jesus' answer, now, far be it from me to ever suggest that God would be sarcastic, but he's close. Because what he says is, hey, well people don't need a physician. Physicians are for sick people. And I didn't come for the righteous. I came for sinners. Now, he's not saying that anybody is really righteous. What he's saying, I think, is he's saying you guys are self-righteous. You guys think you don't need anything, so I don't have anything for you. The invitation would have been there, but they didn't think they needed anything. They thought they were well. Well people don't go to a physician. So Jesus was saying the people that I have something for are people who know they're sick, who know they need something. And boy, that's me. And that's most of us, I think. So great story, short story, but loaded with these things that we can apply to our lives. What'd you get in that? Maybe something different than what I got, or maybe something that I saw that you can apply. I hope so. Well, I'm going to make my way northward tomorrow and enter what's called a roller coaster, which is just a bunch of ups and downs and ups and downs. And then the next day, make it into West Virginia. And hopefully I'll be able to bring you a story then. So I'll see you next time on Truth from the Trail.